Welcome back to Stationeers, and just a quick update on our hydroponics. It's up to 57-ish sort of pressure, and I've just been making more cereal bars. I just thought I'd check on this canister and see how that's going. Yeah, about 30% of it is now up to O2, and to give you an idea of how many wheat that's produced, that's 42 wheat. I've just converted it largely into cereal bars. But yeah, so one canister at what pressure was that? 2.51 MPa of CO2. So, oh well, it's a mix. It's not just CO2 anymore. But yeah, 2.51 MPa, about 64 moles of gas will get you probably 120 wheat at this rate. There or thereabouts. There goes another one just down at the end. So that's looking pretty good. I'm quite happy with that. And let me just grab our cereal bars and put them away. Let's just restock. So today's episode is not going to be about cereal wheat, or cereal or wheat, or microwaves, or other such things. Today's episode is going to be about sorters and how finicky and weird they are. Now, the problem I have largely is there isn't any source of information on the sorters that I can find. I've Googled, maybe I'm missing it. If you know of any information on the sorters, do let me know. Basically, I looked on the Stationeers wiki, no information there. It just basically says, hey, plug it into a computer sorter motherboard, and hey, well, that's not what I want. What I actually want is a proper sorting system via IC. So if I have to rebuild stuff, all I need to do is re-establish the pins, and that's pretty much it. So what have I done here? I've created a test setup or a test jig just so that we can look at various things. So starting with here, I've got some logic switches, I've got some slot readers, logic readers. This is the only real way to kind of inspect machines when they're actually going. And, and a test piece of nickel. Okay, that's going to be our test. So what do we want? Well, one, we want to stop the chutes being jammed. And as far as I can understand, there's no, well, short of a lot of programming, the easiest way to do it is just to have a lot of chutes in between each machines. So instead of just going from one machine right into the next machine right next to it, instead we'll space it out by 2, send it up, around, and back down into the machine, just so there's a long section of buffer. The other problem is that if these two machines, if one of the stuff in the chute comes down and hits the next machine while it's not ready to accept stuff, it never accepts stuff when the door reopens. And that's something that I really hope the developers actually fix, because it just sort of makes chutes fairly useless. There needs to be some kind of, unless it's, well, yeah, maybe unless the input and output systems do something like sensing. But for now, all that we end up with is what we have in the hydroponics, which is you leave a gap, and then you elevate this machine up a little bit, you leave a gap, and then you have an input below it, and it just keeps firing stuff at the door until it opens. And that seems like a really awful way around it, but it does work. So that's one thing. So that's the chutes, and that's nothing to do with programming, just an idea of you know, what I'm going to have to do when I rebuild stuff. So I've made some chutes before I do that. So that means largely I can go and replace these chutes that we've got down here. So I've got 3 of them. So not chutes, sorters. So this sort of setup should still be fine. I am going to, however, just try and give myself a little bit more space, just by taking those out. And then what we'll try and do is put our sorters back in the right place. There we go. So these sorters aren't usually the problem. They have plenty of buffer space, you know, ahead of them, sort of downstream, if you want to think of it like that. And there we go. So those will probably be fine. In between those and the rest, however, what we might want to do is just add extra buffer space. There is enough space here. Sorry, it helps if I move around. So there is enough space here, hopefully, that this section will never get jammed. This one, on the other hand, well, we might want to think about a little bit more space. Okay, and that should do fine. So with that in mind, then the important sorter is going to be sitting right here, I think. Is it right here? No. It's not between these two. This is the reject chute. It's the chute that goes up and dumps the belts out. So it's going to be more like back here somewhere. And no, in fact, even that. No, in fact, we can put another one down. Yep, I'm misremembering. This one, however, we do have to allow for extra sort of room, because one output needs to go that way. Another one out needs to go to the right. This is just load balancing. But between that slot and this slot, we're going to have to put more chutes up and around and down, just so that there is enough room. This one is fine. It's already got a lot of chute. And then everything from here on back is where we're going to get where we're going to get some problems. So again, I've left these as they were. This is an unloader. Unloads the belts into this. And I haven't seen this jam yet, but this is an atmospheric sorter which will go that way and send the stuff into the furnace. Otherwise, yeah, so we'll do that. So with this in mind, we now need to come to the electronics. And ideally, I'd like something that says, hey, what's being input into this sorter? And if it's a certain thing, output it one way. Otherwise, hey, don't care. All right. This is a bit weird. So the sorter has a mode, and I have no idea what the mode does. There's no sort of... in fact, let me just check. Let me just see if this does the way that I... It's just... Where's my... There we go. So yeah, there's no sort of help article explaining what the mode does. So I've set it to 1 for now. I'll set it to off again, and sorry, back to 0 again shortly, but no idea what the mode does, so that's what that logic writer switch is doing. This one, however, is doing the output. Now, the output is pretty interesting. If we just go to this and have a look, yeah, show me that. So this is set to output, and it's on the test sorter. This is also on the test sorter, I think, hopefully. Yep. And it's also set to output. That should probably be set to mode or something. Let's set to mode. Okay. So mode is now set to on. Let me just switch it back and forward so I can make sure it's set to 1. Yep. And let's make sure this is output and this is set to, let's set it off. 0. So this is in mode 1 right now. So if I grab that piece of nickel and I put this in, nothing happens. Now, that presumably is something to do with the mode. So it may be that we set it to mode 1 to hold things. I don't know, but let's set it back to 0 and it comes out. It could be doing other things as well. I have no idea. But if we just keep putting it through, you'll see it's alternating now. So it's now back in mode 0. So it's alternating. However, this is what is not obvious. The output, however, controls which of those two outputs it comes out of. But it's a transitory thing. It's a temporary thing. So this is currently set to off. Let's set it to on. Okay? So you might think... It's now set to 1, basically. On just means 1. So output equals 1. So you might think, hey, everything's just going to come out of 1. Well, there it comes out of 1. Let's put it through again. And no. However, it's resetting itself, it seems, inside the sorter. So if I just change this to on again, put it through. Okay. And then set it to... on again. I have to reset it every time, so it went to 0 and back to 1. It's coming out of just the right one, which is exactly the behavior that we want. However, it's happening automatically. So what we may have to do is think about switching it to mode to 1. Okay. Putting it in. Assessing what it is. Switching it back to mode 0. And back to mode 1 again. At that point, we can then redo this. And then if it's something we don't want, switch this to output 0. And there we go. Hopefully you get the idea. And hopefully that's correct. Who knows? But that's the only thing I've really looked at here. And the other thing I've got here is this pointing the sorter? That's pointing at the stacker at the moment. So if you just take a slot reader, and let's just look at the stacker. Yeah, look at the stacker. Let's look at the processing slot, the stacker, and let's look at the occupant hash. So processing in a stacker, there is no processing in a sorter, by the way, as far as I know. I think it's just input, import, and export slots. So we're going to have to, in fact, let's actually have a look at it in the stack, in the slot. In this, my words. Use the words. Let's put it into the sorter. Okay, now it's going to be held. So now I can actually use the sorter. Either way, they have an occupant hash property, so we're going to have to get used to it. So test sorter, import, and let's look at the occupant hash. That is in the import slot, so that's what we're going to need to read. And it's 183.021.8956. All right. Oh my. So we're going to have to, and I don't think there's any better way than just writing down that number. You'll only ever need it once, and hopefully that number will never change. But yeah, so let's just get that back again. There we go. And we'll grab our nickel. So now what we need to do is write a program that basically does that. And to do that, what we're going to do is use this test setup. I won't bother building it live because I've got a lot of other shoots and stuff like that to do downstairs. But once we have it up here, it's effectively complete. I'll show you at the start of the next episode or something like that, or in a couple of episodes, whenever I actually get back to building the live version. So on here, we're going to want to link the test sorter. So let's assume the test sorter is test stacker, no, test sorter 1. I don't think we need much else, to be honest. No, I don't think we do. All right, so then we'll get to writing a basic program, and this shouldn't be all that complicated, he says, and it probably will be, but let's alias, I can never remember which way around these things are. Let's just look at the functions. Alias, it's this string first. Okay, so let's just call it the sorter. And it's D0. Okay, so that is not much of a problem, as you might expect. And so the first thing we need to do is read in what's in the sorter. And to do that, it's relatively straightforward. We need to load a slot variable, if you like, into R0. And the sorter, we're going to go for 0. Again, this is it would be nice if this wasn't an integer, but yeah, I'm just using 0 for now. And the occupant hash. And then we're going to store that on the base device itself from R0. And then we're just going to yield the loop. Okay, so export. And you'll see right here, it says the same number, 183.021.8956. Okay. Now we're going to need to assess that. So let's just add a little bit more to the program. Okay, not much more complicated, but we're basically doing an if statement here. We're saying, is R0 equal to 183.021.8956? And if so, jump to line 6. Jump to line 6 sets the base to the number 1, i.e. we know, yeah, it's correct. If that isn't equal, then it should hit this line, which should tell me what it is instead, and then jump over this setting of 1. So if, for argument's sake, I first of all export that. Second of all, if we just grab something that isn't nickel, let's just grab a piece of coal. And we're just going to switch this mode back out so it ejects. Okay, and then let's put it back in. Now it's telling me what the coal is. And because I haven't set the output yet, it's going to alternate, but that's not a problem. Oh, it rolled into the stacker. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, it jams chutes, but you can roll a piece of ore directly into them. Okay, fine, no problem. So, nickel is fine. We've got it working. What we then need to do is then, well, first of all, we're not going to need the rest of this. This is just this was just a temporary thing. So let's just get rid of this line and get rid of you. But the rest is fine. In fact, we don't even need this really. But I'll leave it in for now. In fact, it'll get skipped over, so that's fine. Let's just get rid of that. So if it's equal, then it's going to skip to whatever the final line will be. It's not 6. Oh, it won't be 6, but I'll leave it at 6 for now. And then we're going to actually think about writing in what we're going to do. So now we need to access the sorter and tell it to do certain things. So we're going to say, if this is this, then it's going to jump to whatever this line is going to be. So let's just start it. And what we're going to do is going to store. Let's going to have a look at the store syntax down here at the bottom. Store. Okay. Store. Let's see. We want sorter. We want to store the output mode. And we're going to tell it to go to output 1. Then we want to store the sorter. And then tell it to go to mode 0, and that should release things. Before we get to this, what we should probably do when this starts up is put it into store sorter mode 1. Okay, that should just put it into this mode anyway. Let's give it a go. So we'll load it in the occupant hash, see if it's equal to something, and then if it is, we're going to jump to, let's say this is going to be line 6. If it's not, then we're going to actually release it. So let's just saw the sorter output. Is it mode 0 here? I think so. Yeah, mode 0. So we're going to jump over mode 0, hit line 6, which will change the output to go to the right as you're looking at the input side. And then it's going to release. And then it's going to yield and go back around. So we'll go back around. It will then go back into mode 1. It'll see if it's nickel. Obviously, go into the right mode. And let's see if this works. Well, we can see. It may not work just yet. Okay, there it is. So if I put nickel in, nickel comes out. If I put nickel in, whoops, nickel in, nickel comes out. Good. And I can just, make sure, I'm just going to turn these switches off and just re-export that just so that I can make sure it's nothing to do with the switches. Nope, we have something that is now on an IC. Right, so if I then want to change this, I actually want to test it with that piece of coal, don't I? There's another piece of coal here. What happens if I put a piece of coal in? No, that's definitely not working. Okay, so it's not actually detecting properly the sort of equals thing, or at least it's not dealing with it properly. Let's take another look and see where our bug is. Yeah, pretty simple bug. Well, because we're not actually jumping over things based on something else, then we're always executing these instructions, so they're always going to be outputting there. So I've changed this to 7 because we're going to add an extra line now. So mode 0 will then release it. If that's not the case, is that right? Yeah, so let's just try jumping from here to line 9. So jump 9. And if it hits it, it'll jump to line 7. Yeah, let's give that a go. Output will be 1, however, so we need to make sure we change the output mode at the top, maybe? Let's give this a go. So let's change output 0 or something like that, just so when it loops it should reset itself. Alright, now where's my test ores? And test nickel. So nickel, you're coming out of that side, and again. Okay, nickel works. Does coal? Ooh, look at that. Coal. Okay, so we have a fully working solution. Now we do need to make some more changes because I can't just have, I was going to say, just nickel. We obviously want more stuff. So we need to demonstrate how we deal with more stuff. So let's just grab some uranium. Not that I particularly want to do uranium, but I don't have any iron ore around. So let's just pop that in there. And let's read the occupant hash of this here now. Where is my thing? Stacker, processing slot, occupant hash. Okay, so that's 151.658.1844. Remember that. So back in the code now, all we need to do is add another comparison, and I think we'll need to add as many as we need here. So I think let's try it here. So is R0 equal to 151.658.1844? And if so, jump to line, it's going to be line 8 now, isn't it? Yeah, jump to line 8. And the same thing here. So it's going to assess both of them. And in both cases, it's going to hit line 8, which is correct. I need to just change the other jump lines as well. So jump to line 9 is now jump to line 10. Okay, export it. And now we should be able to, let's just grab our uranium and grab our nickel. So nickel comes out the right side, do it again, to the right side. Uranium. Ooh, that doesn't work. Why don't you work? Interesting. Did I get that wrong? 151.658.1844. Yeah, that looks right. Back to the code. I misread. It's minus 151.658.1844. Okay, fine. Let's just take a look at that then. So I had this test thing set up here. Whoops, I hadn't finished it off even. But that's just me not getting it right anyway. So we can jump that back to line 8. And we want that to be minus. Confirm. Export. And then I just want to basically grab this from here. This was just while I was testing. All right, will you now send uranium the right way? Yeah, you will. Good. So when you get the occupant hash, it's all fine. So, oh, no, it isn't. Whoa, wait a second. Why are you going back into the old mode? You are not working correctly when it's this. In fact, no, you're broken entirely. Nickel should not be doing that. Is that because I've got this logic writer switch set up? Let's just change this and... in fact, yeah. That's my fault. I turned the circuit off while I was doing stuff. Okay, now... when I'm not being dumb, does this now work? Nickel comes out the right one. Really should be fine now. Yep. Uranium. Yep. And again. Good. So we got it all working. And all that means, I'll just finally test coal, make sure that is actually rejecting. Yep, there we go. And again. Yeah, so all that means is to add extra filtering, you just come to your program, you go in here, you change this line just to jump to, in fact, we can probably, I wonder if that the jump syntax is actually working yet. So let's just change this and hope that it actually will work. So let's go for, let's call it sort, okay? And I've just replaced the number jumping around with variables, so with these starting variables. So we're going to call sort the place where it basically says output to the right and open. We're going to call loop just the end, basically. So loop, and then jump back to, well, we could even, doesn't really much matter here. I'm just going to set that back to 0. That last line shouldn't worry you all that much. So when it comes to each of these, if it actually is true, it jumps to sort, which is here, goes through outputs to the right, then loops. And if it misses both of those, it will then set the mode to 0 and jump to loop, which is where it goes to here. So mode will go to 0, i.e. it's just going to open, is loop, go back around, and then we'll set sorter output to 0, mode to 1 to start it off. Yeah, so that's the complete program. I am going to just copy that and I'm just going to save it to my library. Again, people do keep asking why I don't save it. Let's put this on the workshop, just because it's on my personal account, not on my Gradister account. That's the only reason why. But I'm just going to save this as ore sorting. Oops. Wow, I can click through it. Ore sorting. And then all you guys need to do is copy and paste this into an IC, hook it up to your ore sorter, and then just add an extra line. You don't need to do any changes to any of the other lines. Add an extra line after line 5. Just get the hash by whatever it means you like, putting it into a stacker or something. Write down the hash. It'd be nice if you could address the ores by variable names rather than hashes, but I don't know. I don't think that's currently a feature. Anyway. It will work with hashes, so just add one for every line, every type of thing you want it to sort, and that is actually much quicker than, once you've got it set up, it's much quicker than scrolling through that drop-down list, going looking for the individual ore types, even though they're alphabetical now. That UI, I prefer this. So we've now got a sorting system that can just handle things, and if we ever have to rebuild our sorters, all we have to do is hook it back up to that first pin, and it will continue to work. Even if I rebuild this or rebuild this, it doesn't matter because it's stored in the library. So let me just take a copy, because I'm going to go and put that to a paste bin, and let's just copy that. There we go. I'll put it into a paste bin for all of you guys, and hopefully you may well even improve on it. Next episode, I'm not quite sure what we're going to do. I'm probably going to rebuild that system now with this in mind, and add some more buffer chutes, and hopefully I don't need to elevate them and do the whole space and then have the item drop down into an input and then back around again. But, whatever we have to do, we have to do. But today, I'm pretty happy. So we've got a electronic ore sorter. Well, an IC ore sorter. If you like the episode, feel free to thumbs up. Give it a subscribe or a like or a share even. And if you haven't already, click on the bell to get more notifications, or indeed just follow me on Twitter @Grayduster, and all the episode notifications come out there. And if you haven't checked it out yet, there's also Stone Block series running on the channel, which is going to head into this sort of level of complexity at some point when we get to sorting systems. But it's a cool thing in Minecraft that you have lots of mods that do this kind of complexity as part of it. So, yeah. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. As always, thanks for watching.